President Ramaphosa has been implicated at the state capture inquiry. Former Eskom Chief Executive Officer Brian Molefe accusing him of a conflict of interest on matters relating to Eskom. Molefe is testifying about his time at the troubled power utility. Watching proceedings for us, reporter Barry Bateman. Barry, good afternoon to you. Apart from giving a resounding endorsement to the burger chain Rocker Mamas, Molefe went straight at the president today. How does he then feature in the evidence related to Eskom?
Yeah, good afternoon, Jeremy. And it all relates to that deal between Glencore and ultimately the sale of Optimum Colliery to Tagita and money that was being used at the time and the cost of coal. So what he was referring to is how Glencore, a multinational which he accuses of trying to fleece the state-owned entity Eskom of money, of hedging their bets by selling shares in the company, 10% thereof, to the president, Cyril Ramaphosa, who was at the time not the president, of course, but they did hedge their bets, knowing that there was some political clout there. But take a listen to how Brian Molefe brought Cyril Ramaphosa into this.
Glencore did not conduct a due diligence on Optimum prior to the acquisition of the company and the contract. Nor had they bothered to acquaint themselves with how the coal supply agreement worked. This was in page 3 of his statement. Sorry, in page 3 of his statement. Instead of conducting due diligence and understanding how the coal supply agreement worked, they did something extraordinary, Chairperson. They sold 9.64% of the shares in the newly acquired company to Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa, a political heavyweight, and made him chairman of the newly acquired company. That was a strategic decision to use the former Secretary General of the African National Congress and former Secretary General of the National Union of Mine Workers, a member of the National Executive Committee of the ANC at the time. They knew that the profitability of the company could only come from a successful renegotiation of the coal price and ignoring by Eskom of the penalties that were accumulating at the time. Mr. Ramaphosa was their bet.
Barry Bateman, at this time, great swathes of South Africa currently experiencing level 2 load shedding, and in relation to that, Molefe then pinning the current crisis on the president. In what respect?
Well, he had earlier spoken about a conflict of interest because, as you just heard there, the president, who was the chairman of the board at Glencore, but at the time he was also appointed as the chairperson of the war room. If you'll recall, back in the time, there was this war room headed up to go and look at the load shedding in South Africa. So he identified a conflict of interest there, but he also moved on and he had a go at the minister, Pravin Gordhan. But I'm not going to explain anymore. I'll leave it up to him to explain. Take a listen to this.
Under my leadership and the leadership of the leadership and technical expertise of people like Mr. Koko and other engineers, the engineers at Eskom, the guardians as they call them, the employees of Eskom, who, when I was there, became very invigorated and determined to end load shedding. We defeated load shedding in August 2015. On the 8th of August 2015, we stopped load shedding. And we never had load shedding again for 3 years after I had left Eskom. Load shedding came back to Eskom after Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa, following the 1 billion rand Nasrec conference, was appointed president of the country.
Former Eskom Chief Executive Brian Molefe, the reporting from Barry Bateman.